I will tell you something as we open this program. There are watershed moments, milestones, significant points where there are epiphanies in our lives. These things happen often by chance, but I will also tell you that they are almost always intended to happen because this is how I happen to believe. More about that in a moment. Welcome to I Never Noticed, a podcast. I'm John Morrow, and this is episode number 2. And today we're going to talk about your power word. Again, your power word. This is an exciting opportunity for you because I'm going to tell you a story of something that happened in my life that made an incredible impact upon me. And I would be so bold as to say, for those of you that heard my first episode a couple of weeks ago, it saved my life. A lot of people want to know about this because they may have seen, if they have talked with me or followed me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or seen some of my what I call Wisdom Sunday videos on YouTube, you've heard the word resolve. Let me tell you the story about that word and why that word has become such an important and integral part of my life. Thank you, by the way, for joining us. We're broadcasting on Spotify. And I, John Morrow, of course, am the sole person that makes up a company called I Never Noticed. And I've talked about I Never Noticed and how that came to be. And I'll be talking more about that moving forward because it's all part of the story of helping you to find your way to a better life through a healthier mindset. My mission is to work with people who are at a point in their lives where they feel they're stuck and they want to shift from being stuck into a more vibrant and meaningful life and move forward and find new direction. And that can be just about anybody from any kind of set of circumstances, including, as I talked about in the previous episode, ones who have gone through a traumatic event in their life, such as the death of a loved one, loss of a job, a broken relationship, a house burned down, all kinds of possibilities, because suddenly we find ourselves, even retirement, when we're wondering, where do we go from here? So that is something that I will touch on periodically. And this power word will play a role in that. So let me tell you the story today. And it's a very wonderful story. And it was a blessing about a word. It is resolve. RESOLVE. It is 7 letters. The year 2017, the time of the year, sometime I believe in November of 2017. I don't have the exact date. I do know it was a Monday night because this happened at a Toastmasters meeting here in Lakeland, Florida, where I live. I've been a member of that club since 1993. And that club, like any Toastmasters club, for those of us who are not lifers, and I'm a lifer, you see people come and go. But one of the people who was a part of the club and is a part of that group I call the lifers is a member whose name I'm going to go ahead and tell you because you might want to look her up on Facebook because she's incredibly inspiring and an incredible personal coach. Her name is Maggie Sabatier Smith. Yes, I sometimes call her one of my power quartet of chicas, women who are bilingual, all have great, strong Spanish backgrounds, some from Puerto Rico, some from Spain, some from actually Mexico. But what they are is they are incredible, dynamic women who are powerful, motivational, and have tremendous effect upon people because they talk about us in real terms and speak to us in such a way that we begin to realize, hey, it's like she picked me out and the subject is about something I'm having a problem with. She's just uncanny at doing that. And this particular evening, we were talking about coming down to the end of the year. It was the Christmas holiday season, and we are looking forward to the new year. How many of you make resolutions? I can't see you. I'm sure there's a show of hands. How many of you try to make resolutions and don't do a very good job with them? There may be more hands. And how many of you don't make them at all? But here's why I don't make them at all, because you see, I raised my hand when I asked that question. We used to make resolutions, my wife and I both. But I'll be honest with you, and sorry for this vernacular, but I suck at resolutions. I really do. I'm terrible. We have tried resolutions, but we never really understood what commitment takes in order for a resolution to take place. So for us, it was a noble idea, but it was one that we couldn't follow through with and didn't. We're just lazy. We didn't really, though, I think it's not, let me correct myself. It's not lazy. It's more like I don't understand the true meaning of the commitment to doing something like this and how that can have an effect upon you. You have to see it from the right perspective. Here we go. Mindset. Okay. She gave a speech and she said, instead of doing resolutions, why don't you adopt a power word? I listened intently and I found myself deeply moved by the message because I felt guilty. Now, coming from a Christian background, you may have heard the term people feel convicted of the fact that they have been doing wrong and they need to make things right. This was the situation with me. Don't get me into a Freudian discussion about the guilt complex, because guilt, I think, is a healthy thing if it's applied in the right manner. But that's a subject for another time. For me, the guilt was based upon an honest assessment of who I was. I sucked at resolutions. I needed something different. This particular message said, instead of adopting a resolution and probably more than likely failing at it, adopt a power word and let that singular word be the thing that is the driving force in everything that you do, and adopt it for the entire year. In other words, make it a part of your everyday mindset, your everyday language and vocabulary. Let it become a part of how you think and approach and engage everything that takes place in the course of your average day. Let this power word be a driving force. But don't just adopt the word based upon what you think it means. Find what it means to you, understand it fully, and then adopt it based upon that fact. So I went home and I told my wife about this, and she was actually moved by it just as much as I was. And Donna and I made this agreement right there that evening in November that we would find that power word. So we started talking about different kinds of words, and there are all kinds of great, glowing, powerful words that are affirming, proactive, provocative. But we were having a hard time finding the word that we want to adopt, because everybody adopts just certain words as power words. These are the driving force words. I'm not going to relate them to you because we need to find something that was unique to us. My wife asked me this question. She said, what was Maggie talking about? And I said, she was talking about resolutions. Oh, resolutions. And my wife is brilliant. She said, isn't the root word of resolution resolve? I looked it up. I Googled it. Dr. Google. Let's hear it for Dr. Google. And actually, going to the Webster's dictionary, the Merriam-Webster dictionary, there were several definitions for resolve, depending upon the context it was used in. But the one that grabbed us and resonated with us was this: having a definite, firm plan of action. Let me repeat that. Resolve, defined in this particular manner, is having a definite, firm plan of action. It is a proactive word. It is an action word. It has a verb context. It also has a noun context as well. But the principal thing is this: resolve is knowing what you want to do and doing it because you have no other choice. But it wasn't enough just to choose the word resolve. We also wanted to make that word come to life. And to come to life, you need behaviors, you need actions in your life that you have mentally imprinted into your mind You understand what these actions are, and you have committed yourself to do these actions, these behaviors, these traits, and what I would come to call later, these personal best practices every single day, not one or two or three, but all of them. And how many of them are there? Guess what? There are 7, because my wife and I got into the dictionary and started thumbing through the letters in the alphabet for RESOLV and E again. And we started looking for behaviors that we wanted to do that would make us a better version of ourselves, not just to each other, but in everything that we personally do and would do going forward. This was our intention. We had made up our mind. This was the first definite, firm plan of action that we made. We had already decided that it's not I'm going to try to, I would like to, I want to, I'll give it my best effort. This was an imperative. I will, I will, I will. I have a definite, firm plan of action. And that definite, firm plan of action will be built around these 7 behaviors based upon the 7 letters of the word resolve. And so looking through and thumbing, we decided to start with the letter R, obviously. And after looking at many, many great words that are great behavioral words, we landed on the word resilience or resilient. People with resolve are resilient because they don't stop. If they get knocked down, they get back up. And the very definition of resilience is being able and having the capacity to come back, bounce back. It also ties in well with the fact that you are not going to let a failure defeat you. You're going to take a failure and use it as an opportunity to either solve the problem or figure out the right thing to do. A Thomas Edison quote once said, I haven't found 10,000 ways to fail. I have found 10,000 reasons that don't work. That gets them out of the way, and I keep on looking for the one that does. That's the same way with us. We want to do things. We want to try to do those things as best as possible. And when we try and we fail, too many people decide to quit. But resilient people who have resolve don't quit. They just figure out a better way and they go back and do it. And the only caveat to that would be the fact that if they realize this is not the proper way to do it and they need to come at it from a different direction, that again is not failure. That's eliminating something you don't need to be doing and finding the thing that you should be doing. So the letter R was for resilience. The next letter is the letter E. Now, I know that there are a lot of great words that you can use the letter E in. But for my wife and I, we wanted something that would be a reflection of how, as we have this resolve and this resilience, and then we're going out into the course of life, what do we need to do when we get up every day? And I'm not talking about make a cup of coffee, feed the cats and things of that sort and have breakfast and time together. I'm talking about as we go out about the business of doing our day, the work, the relationships, the people we connect with, the circumstances that we confront and have to deal with and learn to deal with, and the opportunities to learn that we get from all of this experience. That requires that you have an attitude where you will engage every opportunity, you will engage every person that you meet, and you will engage every chance that you can to learn something or learn many, many things in the course of the day. We chose for our first letter E, engage. Not get married, not ask somebody for a proposal. I'm being silly. Engage. It means, you know, Jean-Luc Picard. Everybody knows Jean-Luc Picard. I'm a big Star Trek. I'm actually a Trekkie or a Trekker, either one. Star Trek: The Next Generation. One of the things I liked about Jean-Luc Picard, the commander of the Enterprise, was that he would direct the helm to plot a course. He would be told course is plotted, awaiting your command, and he would say engage, which means put it to action. When you engage, you're putting yourself in action. You're putting yourself out there to engage in opportunity. And most importantly of all in our life, we need to engage each other. We need to engage people. So part of this process of resolve means meeting and finding and creating and networking. It's developing relationships. But to do that, you must engage every single opportunity. And when something comes up that creates a challenge, you need to engage that so you can learn from it and know how best to deal with it. The third letter is the letter S. That was the no-brainer word. As soon as the word S popped out, we both talked and looked at each other and said service, because we are service-minded people. Not everybody has a selfless service attitude, but I've always enjoyed the process of serving people. There was a time in my life when I was extraordinarily self-centered and very selfish. But as I've been in Toastmasters International all of these years, and I have watched and learned and had the opportunity to mentor and coach people and see them find their way to success and find their, how do you say, identity as a communicator, the letter S just emerged in me, and I realized that there was tremendous joy in watching others succeed. There's tremendous joy in being able to be a part of helping the whole, not be the leader, not be out front, just be there to be a part of the whole to make it work. Kind of like, again, another Star Trek note that came from Spock in Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan, when Spock said to Captain Kirk, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's service. That's also sacrifice. So our word that we chose for the letter S in resolve was service. We made it selfless service. Do it, and do it even without asking the question, what's in it for me? But trust me when I tell you, Zig Ziglar will tell you that you'll get everything you want in life as long as you help everyone get what they want. That requires a selfless approach to how you engage people, and it requires a resilient mindset. It's part of having a definite, firm plan of action. The middle letter, the letter O, was the kicker. We didn't first know just exactly what we were going to use. We were looking in the dictionary at the letter O, and we were struggling, and then I saw a word. And I thought about that word, and I realized if there's ever been something in my life that has been the bane of my existence in anything that I do, it is a lack of organization. People with resolve are organized. They have an organization. They have a structure in their life, and they utilize this organization structure to have a definite plan of action. It ties in very nicely with SMART goals. And you are familiar with SMART goals. SMART goals are, I believe, if I recall correctly, they are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. But you got to have a plan. And you can't work a plan until you have a plan. But to have a plan, you've got to have an organization. In that, in your organization, you know that there is a time for everything, a place for everything, and you need to put them in that structure. So people with resolve who already practice resilience, they know how to engage opportunities in people, and they have a service-minded attitude, are going to have a good organizational set. And I'm glad that the letter O is actually in the middle of resolve, because the letter O is an anchoring word for those first three, but it would also serve to anchor for the final three letters in the word resolve as we put together this now what was turning into a mnemonic. And Donna and I were beginning to get very, very enthusiastic because these were behaviors that we wanted to adopt and live. So remember, resolve, a definite, firm plan of action, has 7 behaviors that we're going to practice each and every single day. So the letter O was organization. Then we come to the letter L. Again, a no-brainer. Isn't that cool? L, the first thing that popped into my mind was learning. I'm a learner. I love to learn. I never stop learning. I once heard somebody say, the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. You're right. It's true. The most important, healthy, happy people are not the smartest people. They're the people that are hungry to learn. They're hungry to know. They want to find out answers. They want to engage opportunities to learn. They want to put themselves in uncomfortable places and learn those things that come as a challenge. Good example. I was born in 1950. The technology that we're using today that's bringing me to you right here on Spotify is a technology that 15 years ago, I had no clue how to do. But because of a hunger for learning and a willingness to take the risk and go to that uncomfortable place, I now get to use these tools, and I'm very comfortable and excited using them. I may not be as proficient with them as those of you out there that have grown up in a much more advanced technology life, because you don't have that many years on this earth. And when you came in, this stuff was already starting to emerge and explode. But at the end of the day, learning is not just fundamental. Learning is essential for better quality of life. And I love to learn, and I like to help people learn. So the letter L in resolve became learner, lifelong learner. Then the letter V. Stop for a moment and consider this statement from Scripture. The people perish for lack of, that's it, vision. But what is vision in this particular case? It's not just sight. In the I Never Noticed story, I talked to you about the field of vision, what I call the windshield effect, where even though you may have a focus on a particular focal point that you're looking at, let's imagine you're driving your car and you're watching the road primarily so you can stay on your drive, but your eyes see more than just what you're focused on. There's a peripheral thing going on here, and I call that, I don't call it, but I grabbed a term from Malcolm Gladwell, the unconscious, what do you call it? The adaptive unconscious. Yes, that's it. The adaptive unconscious. Those are the things that our senses pick up that are on the periphery of the thing that we're focusing on. In a vision situation here, though, I'm also talking about specific visualization of things that you want to accomplish. Without vision, you will perish. So what you have to do is you have to begin to see what the better version of you is going to be. You have to see what it is that you want to accomplish. You have to literally picture it, and visualization takes work. It takes resilience to do it, because you have to begin to see it. You need to look for something that you can either draw it on or find a picture of it or an example of it. And you need to work yourself through the process of seeing it so clearly that you can pinpoint details of it. That's why vision boards are so powerful. That's why a mind map is a very useful tool, because this puts down into a tangible form something that you're visualizing in your mind. Vision is where you have set a goal. Vision is what will drive the purpose for that goal. And vision is also how you will set about the mission of achieving that goal, because a mission is actually a specific expectation. So having vision, being visionary, is important to having success in life on a day-by-day basis. And it is another form of practicing resolve, because it's part of your definite, firm plan of action. So it brings us to the last letter in this now lifestyle power word that has 7 best practices. And the final best practice was the one that we decided we wanted to use, because it represents the driving force in everything that we do. And that is E for enthusiasm. If you don't set out each and every single day to do what you do, and to do it with energy and with joy and with enthusiasm, it's going to be difficult for you to have the will, the stamina, the resilience to accomplish your objectives. People who have resolve go about everything they do to the best of their ability, as much as they can and as often as possible, with enthusiasm. Now, this is an important thing. I told you in our past episode that there was a time in my life when I arrived at an incredibly dark place. I told you the story of the death of my wife and being present and seeing her die. That was 2019. This power word, my wife and I together sat on the couch that Monday evening and came up with in November of 2017. And that power word became a part of our operating practices for the entire year of 2018. I'll have stories about those events and how resolve played an important part and how those 7 behaviors were a driving force in practice of resolve. But when my wife died on June 2nd, 2019, everything came to a screeching halt. And here's the lesson that I want to pass on to you, because I feel it will encourage you and give you a pause to realize and hopefully understand that there is hope. But you need something that you can look at that will give you that hope. I'm not dismissing the fact that after my wife died, I did not benefit from, because I did benefit mightily from extended family, friends and Toastmasters, my church, my immediate family, and other friends in the community, including the community of those people that my wife and I were our co-workers when we were employed before we retired, and also organizations that deal with grief. One in particular, Grief Share, which is a faith-based organization. Hospice is another. I even met a guy who helped me with post-traumatic stress disorder, because watching your wife die is a traumatic thing, and I had PTSD. So I had that amygdala problem taking place where I could suddenly go into a just wailing and crying and weeping situation, lose all control. This is the sort of situation that occurs, and life becomes something of a struggle, because even the idea of getting up, realizing you're getting up alone, you're getting up to an empty house, is something that's very, very difficult to do. How do you move forward? And these counselings, this support group system was effective. But when the real corner was turned was when my good friend Mark Guy, who first helped me start my podcast back in 2015, the one that stopped abruptly in 2019, Mark Guy put his thumb in my back and said, "You have a story to tell and you need to tell it. You have a book you need to write and you need to start writing it." But what Mark was saying is, use your power word. Voila. The light bulb went on. I went back to having a definite, firm plan of action. I remembered that with resilience, with engagement, with selfless service, with optimal organization, with a love for learning, with a visionary mindset, and with an enthusiasm for the fact that I am alive, I'm still here, and there is a purpose to go forward, and I now have a vision, and that vision has a mission statement attached to it. Because of the power word that my wife played a role in helping us create for us, that word is now my power word for life. So yes, I'll wear you out with resolve. And I will tell you 2 things. Adopt a power word for you if you want to start to make a significant difference in the direction of your life. And number 2, it doesn't have to be resolve. Find that which resonates with you. Find that which touches your deepest point. Find that which can actually go to the place where your pain is the most significant, and do it for you. And then associate yourself with opportunities, places, and people who will help you to reinforce it and to put into practice those behaviors that can transform your life into an incredibly successful life. It's possible. My final statement to you is this. I'm John Morrow. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a leadership and communications coach. I'm a podcaster. I'm an author, and I have a YouTube channel. And my mission, my purpose is to work with people who have found themselves coming to a place where, regardless of the circumstances, they have gotten stuck. And it might be a very dark place, but it's not the end. It doesn't have to be. But being in that place, they are desirous and determined to shift from being stuck into a more vibrant and meaningful life. That's what I do. Let that be your mission as well. And if you resonate with that, reach out to me on Facebook at John Morrow, DTM. I Never Noticed. Reach out to me on my LinkedIn link. Watch this video on YouTube. And if there's a feedback loop there in Spotify, and I think there is, reach out to me. Also, don't forget my website, inevernoticed.com. That's inevernoticed.com. And you can contact me, John, at inevernoticed.com. You've been listening to I Never Noticed, a podcast. I'm John Morrow. It's been a pleasure coming to you on Spotify. Thank you, Spotify, for the opportunity to share this message with folks. Please pass the word along. Talk it up. I want to hear from you. I want to do it the right way, but I want you to also understand I'm passionate about what I believe. It's been a pleasure to be with you here today. We'll be getting together again, by the grace of God, in a couple of weeks. Until then, enjoy yourself, no matter when you're listening to this. Make that particular time in your life the best possible time. And above all else, here's my challenge. Find a power word that will make a difference in your life and go out there and just do it. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been my pleasure. It's been my honor. I'll talk to you soon. John Morrow saying so long.